Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Smith. I'm a member of the Net Capital team. Let's allow a few moments here for everyone to get settled in. Just allow a few more moments here. All right. Well, I want to keep everyone waiting too long. So welcome again, everyone. Today is our Net Capital April demo day, and we are thrilled to have four very exciting companies with us today. Today, I will have the pleasure of speaking with members from HiveSkill, Genesis AI, eBumps, and Timed Health. As always, each of these companies is actively raising money on the Net Capital platform. So after the demo, I encourage each and every one of you that is listening to go on to netcapital.com and view each of these exciting offerings. A few housekeeping items on the format for today. We will allow each company a 5-minute pitch, as well as a few-minute follow-up with Q&A. And if you have questions to submit to the Q&A, please use the Q&A functionality when interacting and not the chat. And all four pitches in each company will have a few minutes for closing remarks after that. And without further ado, opening us to kick us off on tonight's demo day, I would like to welcome Sophia from HiveSkill. Sophia, why don't you come on in here and tell everyone about the great work that you and the team are doing at your company.
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Should be good. I will present. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Cool. So hi, everybody. My name is Sophia Becker, and I am the CEO of HiveSkill. Today, I'll walk us through a deck that outlines the specifics of our business. We'll look at the problem we're solving, our unique solution, the HiveSkill business model, and competitive advantage with market opportunity. Let's begin with the problem at hand. 90% of all digital marketing is utilizing pretty vague lists built on large companies like Facebook and Google. We don't get to see user-specific data. That means we also don't know who we're spending our precious dollars on. When utilizing lists and targeting methods through these larger platforms, there is high risk that the audience has no idea, one, who we are, what we want, or that they need us. There's no introduction or association or trust. These audiences are typically as cold as can be. You know, for example, there are certain levers you can pull to categorize people within Google. If you're like a yoga mat company per se, you can target the health and wellness audience in Google, but that's still millions of people, and we're not entirely sure, you know, how they came to be in that list. It's Google's black box, as we like to call it in the marketing world. So we still don't know who we're spending our money on. This type of targeting in digital media leads to low click-through rate on the ads, so how many people are clicking through to our landing page, high bounce rate on landing pages, so people coming to our initial landing page and then leaving pretty quickly, disinterested, and potential brand defamation if we're continuously reaching out to people who are not interested. This is all fine, you know, if you're a massive corporation like HBO with, you know, millions and millions to spend on advertising. But when it comes to smaller businesses and pre-IPO companies, there's not a massive marketing budget. In its early stages, HiveSkill is a tool catering to younger companies looking to raise money. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. We'll speak more, you know, on our solutions and defensible strategy shortly. This comes at a time where new businesses are growing at the fastest rate in more than a decade, and where, you know, 50% of our GDP is comprised of small businesses. So that's where HiveSkill solution comes into play. We offer a new form of marketing that's highly customized and hyper-targeted. This is built off of trust and data. We deliver context-driven marketing campaigns. This is, search engine marketing, social media marketing, and email campaigns to pre-qualified leads, derived from our industry-leading proprietary consumer database. This database is the cleanest and most accurate out there. So let's back up a bit and just break it down quickly. Say you're a business looking to raise money for a new product you're developing. This product is specific to sales teams in the US. At HighSkill, we'll create customized content and shoot out an email to our proprietary database. This database, by the way, is constantly being cleaned and optimized by that AI tool. Those people are segmented in different audiences based off of investment interests, past activity, and past responses to emails. We have a demonstrated track record of success with 80% open rates, 70% response rates, and viable warm leads from these email marketing campaigns. Once the response rate is recorded on our platform, our unique AI-powered audience profiler is prioritizing audiences by tiers, from most likely interested to least interested. And then we build new targeting lists and suppression lists based off of that data. So then we'll export that data and we're able to target those audiences in Google and Facebook utilizing the custom audience uploads. So say you're a sales manager interested in buying a plugin that will help your team drive leads, and you get an email for that product and you also see it on Google and Facebook, and Instagram. We've got you at the bottom of the marketing funnel, driving the highest possible conversion rates and ultimately, brand loyalty. Now let's talk about market opportunity. There's massive opportunity within the digital landscape. Digital marketing software is a $50 billion business, and MarTech surpasses $120 billion, doubling just over the past 2 years. We've seen this tremendous migration towards online marketing solutions and platforms over the last 10 years. Digital marketing is the most cost-effective, the most measurable form of marketing, and more targeted than earlier traditional forms of marketing like newspaper and billboard. I'd ask potential investors, what primary characteristics are you looking for in a business? Growth rate, cash flow, profitability. HiveSkill is a company that has the potential to be immediately profitable with monthly retainers, price per lead, subscription, and new user, and also, the potential purchase of data. Again, it's all about the data. Our largest competitive advantage is this proprietary database that we've built over the past 20 years that's constantly being cleaned and optimized for use. We continue to learn on improved data. This data boosts our advantage as our niche market focus and solution is calibrated to that specific market. So what we're seeing is our tailwinds really giving us strong momentum. And as we've demonstrated to our clients, our ability to provide high quality lead generation, we also want to note that this is just the tip of the iceberg, as mentioned before. As we continue to expand and with the help of investors, we can develop fully funded marketing campaigns utilizing all platforms and providing, an intuitive and smart performance reporting interface for clients to use engaging performance. With refined data and brilliant team members, the sky is really the limit. HiveSkill is uniquely positioned to win because there's no other businesses doing what we do at the level that we're capable of. So this brings me to my final slide here, which breaks out the executive members of our world-class team. I have a degree from Harvard and an extensive background in marketing, working for one of the largest agencies in the world on accounts like HBO, Jaguar Land Rover, L'Oreal, and some nonprofits, managing multi-million-dollar campaigns and client success. Will Kellett sits in the CTO position. Will's incredibly smart and has found success in his own business with a 20-year track record and extensive knowledge in programming and product development. He brings expertise in technology design, data science, business development, and engineering. And then there's Pat Cahill, who leads our sales team. Pat's been in the business for a long time, helping hundreds of small and medium-sized businesses enhance their sales, profits, and operational effectiveness. His expertise is in business planning, enterprise software, traditional sales, e-com, and entrepreneurship. And he's been a great asset to our team. That So my
Awesome.
was a little over, but any
Oh,
questions?
that was great, Sophia. Thank you. Yeah, we
Thanks.
have a few questions here. Can you dive in a little further to your targeting for companies and how you and your company formulates that and goes about that?
Yeah, so it's unique for each client. Right now, we're working with um, a company that's created a plugin tool, kind of similar to what I suggested earlier, for sales teams to use. That's reading their leads and um, recording their calls and understanding, helping the sales teams understand um, which leads are more valuable and which are less valuable. So for them, their targeting was specific to like sales managers and sales teams greater than 150 people at companies bigger than 5,000 people total or something like that. And we're able to, in our platform, go in and segment these audiences by like this special request unique to each client, and target based off of that. Um, so does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so this is very relevant, right? And I know that you being with and being on the Net Capital platform and familiar with obviously what we do, that this could be an asset for many of the companies that are on here. So I find it fascinating, and we're seeing the questions come in. So I'm thinking more people do. Can you talk a little bit about on the returns that you're seeing for companies?
Yeah. So what we've seen specifically, one company comes to mind. We ran a test, and they were focused on a very specific demographic, and we were only able to push out about 5,000 emails, I think, because the target audience was pretty small. But we received like incredible feedback. The content that we created for the email specifically spoke really well. We've come up with the best practice and process in terms of what needs to be in each email, what performs best, where different clicks through to more information, pages, Calendlies, and things like that. Where that position in the email, what works best there. So we're able to provide that insight. And we saw like 90% open rate. So 90% of the people that receive the emails are opening them. And 70% of people are clicking through and setting up a Calendly meeting with their sales team. So for us, that's great because we're shooting out these emails and we're charging per lead. And in the case, if you're working with a company that's looking for people to subscribe, we're charging per subscription. So when we see that incredible return, it's great for the client, but it's also great for us.
Great, Sophia. It's really interesting stuff. And we just, one more question. I know we're running short on time here, but last question here is, how are you developing your product to be utilized on larger platforms like Facebook and Google?
Yeah. So every time we're sending out emails, we're getting response in return. And we've partnered with a sister company, ChipBrain, and utilize an AI tool that's scraping all of the data and reading all of the conversations that we're having with these people and telling us if people are more interested, less interested, et cetera. On top of that, we're also sending out our own emails and surveys, if you will, and trying to understand what people are interested in. Do you want to receive emails from us? What type of investing are you looking for? Like, do you want to hear updates? What industries are you interested in? And it continues to build off of that. So the scale is there. We're also partnering with people like with companies like Crunchbase, LexisNexis, and pulling from their database and running that through our AI script and understanding and testing different emails and and curating the data that way. So the database continues to grow. I think we started with, back in the day, like 11,000 contacts, and now we're over 2 million. So it's been a great year in terms of growth. And we only expect to scale more the more campaigns that we run and the more people we reach out to.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sophia. Next up, I would like to introduce Jonah from eBumps. Welcome, Jonah.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for putting this all together.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell everyone about the great work that you and your team are doing at eBumps?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I even get to the deck that I have built, just a brief overview is that eBumps is looking to create monetization systems for the 227 million licensed drivers in the US, while also taking a pretty stagnant industry that is out-of-home advertising and hoping to bring it to new light with really detailed impression counting and things of that sort. Great, and yeah, and so I can actually share my screen now. Can you see this?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so as I was just saying about eBumps, we are looking to utilize the 227 million licensed drivers in the US and to bring them a monetization platform that really isn't existent in their lives at the moment. In the out-of-home advertising space, we see large companies and agencies that have difficulty to track ROIs in the out-of-home space based on billboards and other marketing practices being stagnant and outdated. And then for small businesses, we also see that they're quite expensive, and so they really limit the reach of the out-of-home space to anyone but large agencies and supply platforms. And to the individual, there's the need to express oneself that is limited right now to social media and similar fashions such as that, because they certainly can't afford a billboard for something of that sort. And so the solution we created is an advertising platform that's similar to what you can see on Facebook, with cheap ads really targeting the general masses that we've then put on moving digital billboards that offer targeted advertising and ROI analytics for impression counting and more. And they then allow the personal monetization platform beyond just social media and other currencies such as this that allow an everyday driver to monetize the space that they hold. And so the market in itself for the US advertising spending is over $200 billion a year, with $8.5 billion being spent in the US billboard and out-of-home advertising alone, and $181 million of that spending being spent in the digital out-of-home space. And that's a metric that's rapidly growing as out-of-home advertisers are seeing more of a reach in the space other than billboards and general avenues that have been used for some time. And so our market, if we encapsulate the impression data that we see alongside the CPM that we've been given by different advertisers, we see our market growing to somewhere in the range of $51 million annually, which is less than 1% of this total market. Our business model is based on a viewable CPM, meaning that advertisers pay for a CPM or for 1,000 impressions based on a set fee. And we then deploy these advertising campaigns onto our systems and receive payment from those impressions that we're collecting. So far, we work with companies such as Vistar Media, AU Optronics, Tech Global, Marketing 360, Street Metrics, who's in charge of purchasing, or sorry, in terms of counting our impression data, and then Hologram, who works towards our cellular fashions. Competition in the space are companies like Grabit, Firefly, and Halo, all of which being large and bulky permanent fixtures that require professional installation, and they have a revenue cap based on the sheer masses that don't want to be putting something of that size on top of their car, rather than an easily removable screen that we offer. Based on that, our screens are low cost, and they can be manufactured for really portions of the cost that we see with Halo and Firefly. They don't have professional installation, and they're not permanent. And then they also offer impression data collection, and we lack the revenue cap that I had touched on briefly. Now that we have recently gone to market, we are targeting different drivers in the New York City area. They are mainly delivery drivers and other professional drivers of that sort. We have over 200 drivers signed up, and one of which is a food truck in the heart of Times Square, where we are seeing that every day a billboard could cost anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000. And so at our $5 CPM rate, it is a really, really interesting bargain that a lot of these advertisers have expressed real interest in so far. We then look towards small businesses and individuals as well towards our marketing, as well as large agencies and different supply side and demand side platforms. One of those is Marketing 360. They're in charge of both our advertising practices, as well as interested partners of ours for their advertising on our system. They do different advertising for companies such as the Bronco. They really drive really fantastic amount of impressions and page views every month. We then work with ViStar Media, who's a DSP, who is in charge of filling unsold inventory onto our system at an algorithmic level. We're beginning in New York, at which point we have plans to expand to further cities throughout the US, and then further into different markets around the world. We have an LOI signed in an Asian market where there is potential interest towards an investment and expansion there. The founding team is myself as CEO, my co-founder Cole, who's our director of business development, and our CTO, Corin Rose. And so far we've contracted with multiple programmatic advertisers and DSPs who are interested in onboarding our platform onto their system, and we're currently underway with the integration there. We're in the midst of rolling out 25 units are in New York City, 3 of which are already live in Times Square, and 2 additional are mobile throughout the city. We've signed up over 200 drivers and receiving anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 impressions per day. And as I had mentioned, we have an LOI signed for an international joint venture in the Asian market. We are also patent pending towards this idea. We're raising currently a bit over $1 million, and the money will go to further expanding our sales practices in New York and allowing us to scale properly in the building out of this system while bringing on a head of sales who can lead the charge in the sale of our system towards different advertisers. And from there towards the manufacturing and purchasing of additional LCD screens to be deployed in both New York and in further markets. So I think I might have gone a bit over, but if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
No, absolutely, Jonah. Thank you very much. We do have a few questions for you here. And the first one being, can you talk about the competitive advantage to using eBumps as opposed to, the other advertisers that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So eBumps is both an incredibly mobile platform. So if you're speaking of competitors as billboards and what we've seen in the out-of-home space as of now, then eBumps finds itself as a way to track an ROI and to really see where you're spending your dollars in the out-of-home space. And then if you're looking at different companies such as Halo and Firefly and such, especially in cities such as New York, they are really stagnantly on taxis and Ubers because there isn't really much of a market towards anyone who is interested in putting a 55-inch screen on top of their car at all times. And so it limits their markets towards where a taxi would drive or where an Uber would drive, because they certainly don't expand fully into different cities. And so when we see different delivery drivers, courier services, Amazon Flex vans and such, we're expanding the market while also serving cheaper CPM rates than they are.
Thank you, Jonah. And next question is, can you dive in deeper to the expansion plan? And I'll just throw out there maybe a couple of the next cities that you're looking to expand into if you have those down the pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. So the really great thing about the expansion plan here is that when I say DSP and SSP, that it stands for a demand side platform and a supply side platform. And what that essentially means is they are big agencies who go off and they speak to advertisers and then they integrate their systems with ours, meaning that they are essentially feeding ads onto our system. And every DSP and SSP that we speak to is in every market throughout the US, whether it be Boston and Vegas and LA and Chicago and you know, all of them that come to mind, they have advertising presences within. So really, once we're able to fully build out our market in New York, and at that point, show the advertisers what they would be getting, show them the data, and show the value that our system brings. Once we expand to further cities, the only real thing to be done, of course, not the only real thing to be done, but one of the chief concerns is drivers, which we saw with just simple marketing, no sales towards them, but just simple marketing towards drivers, that that there really is a lot of interest on the driver side. I think we have 250 people signed up so far for 25 screens in New York. So yeah, once we are planning to expand, all of the agencies that we work with, they're ready to be filling ads in the other cities as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jonah.
Yeah.
Matt, I'd like to welcome you in and introduce you to everyone. We have Matt from Timed Health. How are you, Matt?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. Why don't you tell everyone about the unbelievable work that you and your team are doing at Timed Health?
Yeah, good, will do. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
All right, I appreciate the opportunity tonight to talk about Timed Health, where we're focusing on early bird healthcare efficiency. And what I mean by that is a mission of accelerating healthcare to decelerate disease, and we're starting with diabetes and hypertension. So healthcare delays are costly. Over 180 million people, so more than half of our population suffer from diabetes, hypertension, or precursors of those conditions alone. And if you look at just diabetes, roughly 50 million people, that puts a $330 billion burden on our healthcare system annually. When we look at our addressable market of between 6 and 10 million diabetes and hypertension patients, we anticipate reducing roughly 30% of that burden just by focusing on the early disease progressions and preventing that progression from getting to a more severe state over time. So the way that those pain points are manifest within the healthcare system are in three areas: the patients, physicians, and then the payer system. So patients, obviously, I just discussed the disease progression, of course, economic losses that come with that, whether you're out of work or healthcare visits and bills in and of themselves. Physicians and providers, as they get busier and as we get into a worse and worse doctor shortage in the United States and really globally, miss opportunities for care. We'll discuss a little bit why we might miss those opportunities later, but also with falling margins as healthcare continues to change in landscape and in protocol. Physicians tend to lose out on that. And then we get to the payers with increased risk in care management, a lot of bureaucracy and administration in that system as they play the middleman there. And all of that equates to pain in the healthcare system for all three parties. The trends that led us to look down this path, obviously the resources, doctor shortages I discussed, falling physician incomes, but ultimately over to the end is really where we see the value in Timed Health. And cumulative disease progression. The reason that we have so much waste and so much capital tied up in the healthcare system is because we let ourselves get that sick. We're not taking opportunities to triage easily preventable, known chronic conditions early in progression to prevent them from getting into something worse. So we developed a fully patented solution. We have 5 patents dating back as early as 2011 around predictive analytical healthcare. The idea being, as we sign up members and patients, when we start to gather their healthcare histories and their healthcare interactions, we can use our patented data science to draw out insights and predict their next most likely needed medications. And then when paired with other technologies and the future roadmap of the company, pre-position up to a 2-day supply of the next most likely needed medications, pre-prescribed. So whenever you meet a set of conditions that would warrant the use of that medication, you already have them on your person. You don't have to subsequently set up a doctor visit or visit the emergency room, which is incredibly expensive. So phase 1 is to attract clients to our web-based software, gather their healthcare information, and set up a reward system so that they have mutual benefit from helping us build a pool of data. Phase 2 is pulling the physicians in as they have patients that request to have prescriptions fulfilled through timed health. Critical mass will quickly ensue, and physicians will become members and then active users of the software. And that's when we throw in the e-prescribing tool, where physicians can directly prescribe to timed health, which we will eventually expand into an e-pharmacy. And then we start to build out that ecosystem of data-driven decisions, predictive analytics to pre-position medications and get ahead of disease progression. Eventually, phase 3, a full suite electronic health record platform with a fully integrated e-prescriber tool. So that is the end of the pitch. Meant to be quick here on the 5-minute side as requested. So I'll open the floor for any questions.
No, Matt, thank you very much. We do have a few questions that rolled in. The first one being, can you expand and elaborate on the factors for healthcare delays from the patient's, physician, and payer sides?
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Tom. I'll start on the patient side, and I'm sure we've all experienced this. Going to the doctor sometimes can be inconvenient and difficult unless it's critical. Sometimes they have long waits just to get an appointment, or it's not a convenient time of day with our day-to-day schedules, or ultimately we're just in denial or ignorance of any condition that we might have. We might not know how severe our conditions may be. We figure we can tough ourselves through it. So on the patient side, typically those are the delay factors that we see. On the physician side, I talked briefly to the complexity of the healthcare system, but the complexity of the interfaces, clinic to clinic or clinic to hospital system, sometimes that takes time and slows down the entire process. So we end up with waste on the physician side, and then that transfers back to the understanding of patients and how quickly or not they can get care. And you can see how this situation starts to snowball. And then on the payer side, I briefly touched on it already. All the administration, the pre-approvals, the pre-certifications, the conversation of in-network versus out-of-network, and the way our healthcare system works. So you bubble all that up, and you really get waste. And Timed Health aims to streamline that waste by minimizing all those inflection points and those variabilities to really make the system become more of a straight line and ultimately get ahead of disease.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Next question is, can you talk about your competitive advantage? So, why Timed Health over another company?
Yeah, that's a great question. And ultimately it comes down to our patented data science and the fact that we can get out ahead of what your next most likely needed medications are. And we can take it a step further with our e-pharmacy to have those next most likely needed medications pre-positioned. You think of comparisons such as PillPack or Amazon with their shipping. Well, shipping is irrelevant if you already have what you need on your person. So we're taking it to the next step there, and really that's the value proposition. And the driver is, and really the essence of what timed is the time component of healthcare, and we're trying to minimize that time component of healthcare as much as possible.
Great, thanks, Matt. And we have time for one more question. Can you touch upon, kind of the major milestones? I know we're a few months into 2021 already, but what are some of the major milestones between now and the end of the year?
Yeah, great question. So the next major milestone is to deliver phase 1 software and get the subscription model launched so we can start building our pool of data. We're obviously marketing on your platform. We have some other avenues to pursue funding. Once secured, we'll launch into phase 2, which, as I mentioned, was the e-prescribing aspect of the software and the ability for physicians to get involved in the system. So phase 1 milestones start with our user base, start building out our membership. Phase 2, get the physicians involved, and that should round out 2021.
Great, thank you very much, Matt.
You got it.
And next up, last but certainly not least, I would like to introduce Art Scheel from Genesis AI. And we've been working with Genesis AI for quite some time now. So Art Scheel, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. So I'll talk about what we are building, and because I'm going to start with high-level overview. So artificial general intelligence will probably be the single most valuable technology that mankind will ever create. It's just to probably bring prosperity and power and freedom to everyone in the world. But the big problem with AI industry and major reason why we are not able to innovate in AI industry is because how AI models are operating in silos, how they are developed and operating in a closed environment. Basically, there's no connectivity among different AI tools. For instance, there is no really easy way for developers to share their AI codes easily with others, nor there is an easy way to integrate some of the open source AI code out there in the internet to your system, or to integrate another company's AI tool in your system. So we believe that we can solve this problem by creating a platform that will provide an infrastructure, sort of a constitution that will specify how these different AI tools can interact with each other, how they can communicate, how they can trade data, exchange services, and learn from each other. We believe that by having this web platforms that potentially can bring hundreds of AI tools together, not only we can increase functionality of these AI tools, but also accuracy rates. Here's a simple example. Let's say we can have one company's speech recognition model working with another company's translation model to produce speech translation. And you can imagine this scaling up and potentially hundreds of AI models interacting with each other, right? So we'll plan to connect all these tools using the API. So these different tools will be plugged in and connected to Genesys AI using API. And not only we're going to connect buyers and sellers to each other, but also we will be connecting sellers to each other as well. I guess the analogy here is, let's say that you want to go from New York to Boston, and you just called Uber, and it's pretty complicated for one driver to take you on a 4-hour ride, right? So if Uber connected you to one driver from, let's say, New York to Connecticut, and then another one from Connecticut to Boston, you will get what you want, which is to get to Boston, and Uber will make money and drivers will make money. So this is exactly what we want to do. There are lots of cases where it's impossible for one company to have all the AI functionalities that the buyer needs. It's sometimes impossible, and also they might have it, but their tools might not be the most accurate ones. They might have the best speech recognition tool, but they might have pretty bad sentiment analysis. So if you want to do the best speech sentiment analysis, you would rather work on 2 different AI tools that we will connect and give it to you on our platform, instead of relying on a single company who can provide these both tools. So this is basically like a high-level overview of what we plan to do. I'll talk a little bit more specifics about where we are now and where we are planning to go. So we have a beta product up and running. We have 6 AI tools deployed. We have around 20 companies. We assume basically on the waiting list. We are still in process of finalizing infrastructure for these companies to easily deploy their AI tools on our platform. And plan from there will be to scale up to potentially hundreds of AI tools all being in our marketplace. And in the short term, our vision is to be sort of like become Google of all things AI for asset management space specifically. So basically all the AI tools for retail investors to be on our space, on our network. And after that, goal and the dream and vision is to, potentially lay foundation for next sort of like super AI, right? Which who knows whether this will ever happen or not, but that's our dream. Enough for us to keep working very, very hard, try to make money for investors, for users, clients, and everyone, team members, everyone basically. So when it comes to where we are now, so we raised 3 rounds so far. We raised angel, pre-seed, seed round. We had our previous rounds on net capital, by the way. We raised around 1.3 million. Absolutely great experience. Absolutely happy that we got over around 1,000 investors to join our platform. We just launched our Series A we will be raising up to 4 million because that's basically the max we can raise in this regulation. We already raised around 500,000. Again, I'd love to welcome our new investors, and I'm sure some of our new investors are attending on this call. So our goal is truly to allow everyone to participate in building the AI company. Our goal is to give everyone opportunity to join forces and literally change niche industry, which is like asset management, AI and asset management, and after that try to transform potentially the society and the world. So this is a quick summary of what we do. So marketplace, or you can think about like a global network of AI products and services initially targeted on the asset management space. And I'm really excited to be here. Just wanted to say that one more time.
No, thank you, Archil, and thank you for telling everyone about the great work that you and Genesis AI are doing. I know you're back for your second round and things are going well, so congratulations. Can you talk about the competitive advantage for Genesis AI?
That's a great question, Tom. So our competitive advantage has to do mostly with the quality of AI products and services that we envision to have once we start integrating potentially hundreds of or thousands of AI tools with each other. We did the research where we found that we can have much higher quality AI products and services when you operate in a network environment. Here's an example. We found that sometimes when you average output of multiple models, you get actually higher accuracy rates than if you relied on a single model. So if you have multiple AI models that we can average their output, we can boost the accuracy rate. Or another example is we can have some sort of auctioning system where, let's say, a company will submit a data set they want to make predictions about, and then the different AI tools will compete against each other, and the best one will get the job awarded, right? So this will be, I guess, a sort of Darwinian way for us to choose which AI model is the best. So only the most adept and the most accurate AI model will survive on our platform. So it's going to be lots of fun to see that. And this will be great for consumers. So I think the competition and survival of the fittest is absolutely great for consumers. And it will be great for AI companies too. So basically I can go on and on, but these are like two examples of how we are different when it comes to boosting accuracy rate of AI products and services.
Thank you, Archil. Next question is, can you talk about the major milestones that you hope to accomplish between now and the end of the year, but also into 2022?
That's a great question. Major milestones. So I'll talk about engineering milestones and business development milestones. So on the engineering milestones, we'll be doing, I'm actually in a crazy hiring mode right now. So we probably will be hiring a good amount of engineers in next few months, and that will really enable us to move much faster. So our goal is to have an infrastructure ready for AI companies to very, very easily deploy their AI tools on our platform, because we have just like 25 companies on the waiting list, right? So we really want to deploy these tools as soon as possible. So have infrastructure ready for these AI tools to start connecting together, communicating, interacting, add some of our AI models, additional AI models on our marketplace, and so on. So this is on the product side. And on the business development side, I guess it all goes down to having enough financial and human capital, right? And we have been very grateful about the overwhelming interest for people to provide financial capital. So that's absolutely great. I'll be spending lots of time on making sure that human capital, both in terms of quantity and quality, is there. But to get a little bit more concrete, goal will be to have a lot more companies on the supply side. We are initially focused more on the supply side of our marketplace, increase also number of users we have, and make, most important, learn enough about users that we can confidently charge, charge money for people to pay for our tool, and then scale up from there.
Great. Thank you, Archil. And we have time for one more question here. So I apologize with all the companies, the folks that we weren't able to get to. But Archil, last question is, can you gloss over and just give a brief summary on the executive team that's working with you?
For sure. So there are a few founders in the team. I myself lead the business development side. I used to work. Actually, Sophia and I were classmates at Harvard. So great to hear. Great to see you here. And I did economics. I worked at Bridgewater Associates, the largest hedge fund in the world. I had the AI startup before, which was people analytics, AI applied to people analytics. Other founders have similar experience, but more on the technology side, software engineering experience at Google. One of our founders and team members are just finishing up PhD at Harvard. He worked with me on my previous company. So, and we also have lots of contractors. We actually have around, I think, 14 full-time contractors. These are people mostly on the business development side and also data labeling side. So we need to label lots of data for our AI, basically for the technology purposes. And our goal will be to expand core engineering team by 3-4x in next 12 months, and also business development team. So pretty excited about all this.
That's great, Archil. Thank you. We're going to recap everyone in just a moment, but I think say no more. These are 4 amazing companies, everyone. You can invest right now live on netcapital.com. Strongly encourage you to give these companies a serious look and just really dive into the great work that each and every one of these entrepreneurs are doing, but also the teams that they've built, and with respect to their industries, how they're revolutionizing their industry. So before I go any further, just congratulations, guys. This is amazing stuff that each and every one of you are doing. And to recap everything, Archil, we're going to start with you. We're going to keep it to 1 minute to 2 minutes, but just, why folks should invest in Genesis AI, and then we'll move down the line. So Archil, take it away.
For sure, Tom. Thank you. And so Genesis AI. So if you would like to join forces to build a potentially great artificial intelligence company that can do lots of good for the world, mostly first of all, for the investors and for team members and clients, and after that for the world, then join us. Let's together we are stronger and we are more powerful. And I always say in my update that we will win. I think we are going to win, and I think we are going to win big. And I'm really excited. About being in the probably one of the hottest industries out there, which is AI for retail investors, AI in the asset management space. I'm really excited to be in equity crowdfunding space where we can all help each other out. We have lots of investors who are also helping us on the business development side. And if people believe that we can really boost accuracy rate and functionality of AI tools by connecting them to each other, I think Genesis AI is the way to go.
Thank you, Archil. Matt, if you could tell everyone in a minute or two, why invest in Timed Health?
Yeah, Tom, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, if you look around you, and I know just myself, looking through my family, I've been impacted by hypertension and diabetes, both, not personally, but certainly in my family. And in both of those cases, care was delayed because of all the reasons that I described. The healthcare system is complicated. We don't realize how sick we are until it's too late. So I've been personally impacted, and I would challenge all of you to look at your extended networks and see the impacts you have in your lives. And I think that's the proposition right there. When we create a system through Timed Health that puts focus on getting care earlier for these preventable diseases and stopping those progressions, not only do we keep our loved ones around longer, but we, make the world a better place, so to speak, tongue in cheek. by reducing the burdens on our already burdened healthcare system. So, I think the value proposition is just looking left and right, up and down our family, and making sure everybody's still there with us, 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
Thanks, Matt. And knowing you in Timed Health while you've been aboard Net Capital, we can tell that, there's a purpose to this along with the passion. So
Thanks, Tom.
that's great. Thank you. Jonah, eBumps. Why should the folks that are tuning in now and also those who are going to be listening invest in eBumps?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, the bottom line is that it's a really exciting time at eBumps. We've put in over a year of R&D just to bring us to this point where we're finally releasing in New York City. We have screens in truly the heart of the world, right next to the famous red steps in Times Square. We have hundreds of drivers who want our screens. And now we have really serious interest from some of the biggest advertisers in the country, whether they be agency or supply side platforms. And so really it is a really exciting time for eBumps as we are really approaching this what we think will be an explosion into this market. And we hear from investors often that they want to see what's different between our system and what already exists. And realistically, it is the reach that we have and the data that we provide. And so, we're excited to begin to show that. And we think that once we do, in the coming weeks and months, it's going to be a great thing to visualize for investors.
Thanks, Jonah. And obviously wishing you guys nothing but the best in such a competitive space, and just have enjoyed working with you and just excited to see where the future goes. Last but certainly not least, Sophia. Sophia, why should people invest in your company?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so HiveSkill's advantage is that we're starting niche and with the potential to scale drastically. Digital marketing is hot right now. It's a thriving market. We're a team of true marketing experts that know how to drive results and utilize, our best practices that are boosting client success. Our background in marketing and product development brings an extraordinary level of expertise to our business. That's exciting. HiveSkill is looking to raise capital to support our product development and data curation. We have the tools, we need the people to scale faster. We have the potential to be extremely profitable pretty quickly. We're in the early stages, but with low overhead costs and our client contract structure, we expect to be cash flow positive within 6 months. So it's an exciting time. Yeah.
No,
Thank
thank you so
for
much,
hosting.
Sophia. No, thank you. And I know, obviously being in the private capital market space, what you and your company are serving and building, it's not just, the companies that we work with, but we've seen the need for it. So congratulations on what you've built, and congratulations to everyone on this demo day on what each of you have built. Being an entrepreneur myself, working with entrepreneurs every day, this is not an easy space. And as they say, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So you guys have the guts, you have the tenacity, and you have the drive to keep going. Each one of you have been successful before the Net Capital platform. You're successful on the Net Capital platform, and we're just extremely excited to be and honored to be a part of your journey in assisting you and your company. So on behalf of Net Capital, we thank you. I thank you for the opportunity with having to be a part of your journey, because it's been an absolute pleasure working with each and every one of you. And with that being said, I would like to thank again all of our panelists for attending today's demo day, as well as everyone that tuned in for today's event. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope that you will join us soon for our next demo day and our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, great job.